Welcome to Tree Doctors, everybody. I'm your host, John Passmore. On today's program, we're going to be from Wind to Walnut Ridge. There's no telling where we're going to be, and we're going to catch up with Ed Dickey in just a moment. We'll be back right after this message.
Tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject a zap back in your tree's sap. Research has showed that ice-damaged trees are stressed, and stressed trees lead to insect and disease attacks. Micro tree injection is the answer for your trees. Micro tree injection is a closed system, delivering the exact dose of systemic chemical directly to the sap stream of the tree. Once the problem is identified, the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject vitamins, minerals, or insecticide directly into the sap stream of your trees. This bypasses the roots and provides immediate results. Micro tree injection has been university tested and field proven for over 35 years. After the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service treat your trees, you receive a written 1-year guarantee. We won't treat a tree we don't think we can help. Let the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service put the zap back in your tree's sap.
Daddy phoned to tell us that old tree might have to come down. The one I had the tree house in and chased my wife around. He said a neighbor showed him where it was busting at the trunk. And if the snow got heavy, it could crack down to the stump. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Grandpa said they planted it when he was just 8 years old. His mama kept the clods broke up while his daddy dug the hole. I phoned up a friend of mine that lives in our hometown. He said he knew a tree doctor didn't like to cut trees down. The man went out and checked our tree and bolted it back together. He said it would last a lifetime, no matter what the weather. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Yes, we got to save our family tree.
Let's catch up with Ed Dickey, the head tree doctor of Dickey Tree Service, right now on Tree Doctors.
I want to tell you some things that I've happened up on, and it's really damaging our trees in the areas around Jonesboro and, well, all the major towns around. The tree trimmers are spiking up the base of these trees. I've got onto them several times, mentioned to them it's not good. You can damage the tree severely using these tree spikes. They go in there quite a ways, tearing this wood to get up there. And if they would simply set a 24-foot ladder or 16-foot ladder to get past this main trunk to get up, if they got to wear the spikes to do the tree work, it would be much better for your trees. In addition to that, they've gotten out of the habit of disinfecting and cleaning their spikes. Now these deep gashes that they're making in this main stem of this trunk not only damages the trees, but it can spread disease right into these open places that they leave. For that reason, they need to disinfect those. You need to check with your tree people, ask that they disinfect their tools as well as their climbing gear. And it's just good sanitation. You wouldn't want someone bringing this diseased trees that from your neighbors over in your yard and going right into your tree. I don't think so, or across town or halfway across the country as far as that's concerned. Just, it's a good idea to not wear these things anyway. One tree firm here in town, when the client mentioned to them about the spikes, she claimed that you know, my trimming crews used to do that years ago. Well, that's not the case. We never approved of the fact of spiking trees down low. Our crews always carried ladders to get above the main trunk. And we're going in our 37th year. I'm glad we don't climb anymore this way, but if we did, we'd still do it that way. We would have our ladders up there to protect these main trunks. That's the main part of your tree. A limb you can handle, but your main trunks, it gets sick, it gets damaged, can't be repaired. So talk to your tree people before you hire them. Find out what their policy is, and they'd probably be willing to change once you brought it to their attention. You'll be glad you did. I'm here in Wynne with Robert Meyer, and Robert, we treated these trees, all the trees, as a matter of fact, in your yard last year. And why don't you tell our viewers what your question to me was about this one behind me?
I had a dead area that I was concerned with about if I was about to lose my tree or just really what my problem was. I was really concerned. I did not want to lose this beautiful oak tree.
Yes, sir, and it's situated right in front of your residence. And like I showed Robert, a few years ago, this tree had what we call a choker root. It's a girdering root's what it is, and it's already broken here, so much strain on it, but it killed this little area right here. This is actually a dead area in the tree, and the tree is compensating from it. It's putting on new cambium layers here, and that will actually close in before long. So other than that defect right there, the tree is doing well and healthy. What do you do, Robert?
Of course, you treated it last year for the last 2 years in a row, and it does have new growth coming back, but every year I come back with just a preventive maintenance and spray it with just different chemical, malathion, just whatever you normally recommend.
Right, yeah, I gave him some follow-up material, and it's not hard to do, is it?
No, sir, it is not.
Well, and it keeps your old black ants down and your other bad bugs, and just makes your tree a little bit healthier, I think. But you're a state trooper, aren't you, Robert?
Yes, I am.
How long you been a trooper?
Been in law enforcement going on 20 years.
20 years, yes, sir.
Been with the state 17.
Well, good deal, good deal. Did you notice after when we treated these, this is about the middle of summer, I think, last year, did you notice the trees picking up some after we got through?
Yes, I did. The leaves were they put off a darker green color. They just looked just real healthy, more healthy.
Yes, sir, and I'll keep an eye on these this year, and we'll see that they keep doing good, because you've got some great trees here, and you hadn't lost a one, have you?
I have not yet.
Well, there you go. All right. I want to talk a little bit about the ice storm damage that we had, that's in 2002, and you got Robert here was very inventive when tell our viewers what's going on with this come along behind me.
Well, I got this cypress tree. I was concerned I didn't want to lose my privacy, because it's privacy on my backyard, and it's an old cypress tree. And during the ice storm, the weight of the ice just almost put the tree on the ground. So just trying it out over the years, it'd come along and chain, and while the ground was soft during the winter, I would just kind of winch it up. And in the last 3 or 4 years, I've almost got it to the right position.
Yeah, you just cranked on it every time the ground was wet, just another notch or two, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
I tell people it's very difficult to reset a tree once they root wad like that. But in Robert's case, he just took the time, and it's took 3 or 4 years to get it back upright, hasn't it?
That's right.
And so people will know that it's took them up a winch or a turnbuckle or a come along and just tighten that booger up when the ground is wet, especially in the winter. And that's a pretty good sized tree, about a 15-inch tree.
That's right. I was just concerned I didn't want to lose the tree, and it just either I was going to lose it or just take a chance of trying to get it up for over the years, and it worked for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a good tip for our viewers. I appreciate you telling us about that.
Thank you.
The homeowner here called me in, and he's got a borer problem in these trees. He also had where a limb had been cut off, and they had cut it too close to the tree several years ago. It had rotted back, and it was a big pocket there. It was holding water. It concerned him because as it grew bigger over the years, that it would make the tree weaker on this side, and of course the tree could collapse and fall. There's enough stress on it if this continued. So I did some tree surgery there, and it's something a homeowner can do, and I'll show you briefly how you do it. The first thing you do is you make you a template of the size of the hole it is you're trying to fix. Just make it out of cardboard. Take you a hatchet or a little axe, clean out all of that old dead debris that's in there, clean it back to good hardwood. But with using this template, you make you a form out of 1-inch, 3/4 or 1-inch wood, and place it on top of another piece of wood, and this template part's going to go inside that hole. And the reason you're doing that is that keeps the concrete about 3/4 to 1 inch inside the hole, so the cambium of the tree can actually close over that as years go by. If you just put that board up there and then poured the concrete, that wouldn't work. The tree would push it out. So you have to go inside that. And by using that template and doing a form of wood, and you just screw it down to the other piece like I did here. Easy done. And put it on there, and then after it's attached to the tree, like I've done here, you mix you some ready-made cement, ready-mix cement, and what I like to use is a little bean scoop light, and you can, at the top of the ladder, you can pour it actually in the top of the hole. And when you get to the last 2 inches of the hole, you need to take a hammer and tamp that wood to get any air pockets out, so you got a good form behind it. And then you cut you another small slender piece of wood to put at the top and leave just enough of a gap to let that concrete flow behind it. You kind of stuff that back at the top down in there. After a day or so of drying, you undo those screws, take it off. It's A1 shape. Spray a little camouflage paint on it, and it'll look great. So when I treated this tree, I did that tree surgery for him because I wanted the tree to be healthy many, many, many years down the road. My treatment was going to get rid of the insects, but it had a little problem up there I wanted to address. And that's how a homeowner can fix their own problem if they got a defect in their tree. Just a little bit of elbow grease and knowing what to do will help your trees.
Stick around, folks. There'll be more on Tree Doctors right after these messages.
Hello, I'm Ed Dickey, the tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service. I'm coming to you from inside of a tree. We've been getting inside of trees for 35 years. We get to the root of the problem. Give us a call. We know how to save your trees. We put the chemical where it needs to be, inside your tree, taking care of insect and disease problems. We're often imitated, but never duplicated. We've been doing this 35 years. We know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service. It's not hard to see what killed these trees. It was boreworms. The borer is a hard insect to control, virtually untouched with spraying and other applications. But with systemic injection, when the borer eats the tree, the borer dies. Trees are dying all over, but we've got the cure. We give a 1-year guarantee when we treat your trees for the borers. We've been doing this 35 years and we know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees. It's time now for mailbag. That's when we talk about some of the questions that y'all sent us through the computer or we got through the mail. This one here is from Vernon in Batesville. Why should I use your company or one of your tree doctors to treat my trees when there's others that claim to do what you do? That's a good question, Vernon. The problem is the people who claim to do what we do, that's what they do. They just claim to do what we do. A lot of our products we used are protected with under the patent and trademark laws. We own the actual rights to them, and no other company can use those. They were developed by us. Some of them goes back to in the early 80s, the products that's being used in your trees. Also, you will find that we stay abreast with modern changing technology. And some of the ones that claim to do what we do, if you'll research what they're doing stuff that we quit doing several years ago. And there's a reason for that. There's a better way. And as better ways come to be, we use those better ways. So it's kind of like the old saying, you kind of get what you pay for. But in another aspect of that, our technology has got so good that we offer a 1-year guarantee when we treat the trees. Nobody, as far as I know, offers any kind of guarantee after treating your trees. We get 2 years worth of residual when we treat your trees out of killing the insect and stuff. That's why we can offer a 1-year guarantee. One of these days we'll probably be able to offer a 2-year guarantee as technology lets us. So the patented and trademark products that we use in what we do and the staying abreast of the technology is what gets you more bang for the buck. And also now, and we just started doing this here of late, we can actually treat every tree in your yard cheaper than we could do 2 or 3 trees a few years ago. So as opposed to going up, the prices have came down. And as the technology gets better, we can pass that savings right on to the customer. And I don't think you'll see that out of those other companies that claim that. This is from John in Jonesboro. My pines have not been as full as they have been in the past. Is there anything I need to do or should have been doing to make them greener? I would appreciate an answer. Well, John, without looking, I can only speculate what's going on, but chances are the pine bark beetle is starting to be a problem. It's gotten so bad south of us here. In fact, they've got buying billboards that's down at the state line that says if you got a stand of pine trees, cut every other one, save those pine trees because of the pine bark beetle. I'm not saying that's what you got, but that's something you got ahead of you. If you're not taking care of them, you need to start taking care of them. Second thing, you need to fertilize those pine trees. And pines change their needles twice a year. You need to fertilize them in between needle change. It's easy to see when that is because you'll see the needles all over your ground. Do it right after you see the needles drop. You're not hurting a thing. Just go out around a drip line and push a shovel in the ground, put you about a half a cup of fertilizer every 2 foot in those holes. Water it in a little bit. It'll help them pine trees. But you need some type of spraying program on the trunks if you got pine trees as a preventive maintenance, or you're going to get in trouble. We treat a lot of pine trees, and they're the Arkansas state tree, by the way. They're beautiful trees when they're healthy, and if you catch them quick enough and keep them healthy, they're easy to be kept healthy. But a healthy, vigorous tree will ward off a lot of insect problems on its own. So I'd hope that helped you, John. This one's from Chester in Horn Lake, Mississippi. What's the largest tree that you ever worked on in the state of Mississippi? With Chester, we got to go back a lot of years to talk about that now. At Jackson, Mississippi, it was a pine tree right outside of a big factory there. The pine tree measured, if I'm not mistaken, I think it measured 21 foot around, and they had me treat. And it was taller than any other pine tree I'd ever seen since then. I'm not sure on the height of it, so I'm not going to give you a number, but that was a tall, tall tree. But that's about all I got to say about that. That was years ago when we had trimming crews and stuff, and I'm not even sure the tree's still there. I might go by there and see one of these days. Check on that tree. You're going to start seeing a mailbag on our program every week now. We did a survey, and we found out a lot of people want their questions answered that way. And in case your question don't get answered during the mailbag segment, you can go to dickeytree.com and email us there, or you can just send it by mail to the Tree Doctors, at Post Office Box 790, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401.
Let's catch up with the head tree doctor of Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey, and see how we can take care of our trees right now on Tree Doctors.
This is one of the largest chestnuts oaks that there is in the state here in Arkansas. I'm in Wynn, right off of Kellogg's Road, and I'm happy to say the people here had me treat this tree. It's got to the point that it was starting to have an insect problem from the ice storm we had about 3 years ago. But we treated it and corrected that and got the borers out of there. So this tree, the people that live here said they believe it's 250 years old. I don't doubt that a bit. I'm sure they're pretty close, but it's an old tree. And these trees have been recorded to last up to 550 years, so it's not halfway wore out yet. A lot of people have asked me about when we put the bracing rods through a tree, and I wanted to show the viewers kind of how we did that. In case you got a small tree, you just use smaller equipment that I'm using right now, but this is a 1-inch drill bit. Actually, it's 1 1/16 inches, and this is where it's welded on to an extension. And I'm going to be drilling through this tree right here to put a 1-inch bracing rod to hold this together, keep it from splitting in the future. If we wait till it gets a little worse than what it is now, it would take 2 bracing rods at different angles. And you're going to see me how easy it is to drill through that and put about a 4-foot rod through that. And I'll get the hole drilled and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. Well, with a little bit of difficulty, we got the rods through there and it's got the nuts on there. I'm gonna cut this shaft off and then I'll paint the ends with a camouflage paint. If you do this, always wear your safety glasses. Don't want to mess your eyes up, and you'll be glad you did. Now on film, that didn't take very long to do, but it actually took about 30 to 45 minutes for me to put that rod through there, and it's kind of difficult doing a big tree like this. But a smaller tree, there's no reason an average homeowner can't use a smaller drill bit, a smaller all-thread zinc-plated rod, and save some trees. But you get to the big guys like this, you might ought to let a professional do it, but that's how it's done. That's how you put a bracing rod through a tree and keep it from busting. We're here in Cherry Valley at the home of Mike and Darlene Wood, and a big old tree we're standing by. And tell me a little about what you know about this tree, Miss Wood.
I know that years ago, when I don't know exactly how long, but probably at least 80 years ago, there used to be more than this tree right in this area, and that they would park their wagon, horse and buggies under here when they would come to town because of the shade. So we know it's been here a long time. You know, exactly how long, I don't know, but.
Right, you had us treat this tree back last year, but about 5 or 6 years ago, you had called our company also, and one of my men come out and talked to you then about the tree, didn't he?
Right, yes.
Miss Wood was concerned about the hollow in it, and you've seen on their program where we have filled these hollows, but in a case like this, there's actually an opening all the way up to the center of this, and it gets air, it stays dried out, it's not a wet situation, so we do more damage than good to try to close that in, because you can't close it up through there, needless to say, even though it's a smaller hollow. And she can now readily spray mild insecticide or something in there to keep out critters that she don't want. But you had talked to someone at Master Gardening and told you about mushrooms, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, one of my friends is a master gardener, and she said that I could probably real easily grow mushrooms in here.
Right, or ferns or something that likes the shade. But she had this little tree growing up here to kind of shield it. But I think it's a very cool tree, and it's an enormous tree. I just hope the camera does justice to how big the tree is. How long have y'all lived here, Miss Wood?
We've lived here 30 years, and the tree was huge when we moved in, so we think it's probably a couple of 100 years old.
Oh, I would think so. And your husband, he's the mayor here in town, isn't he?
Mm-hmm, right.
I had done some work out at their the farm where a tornado had come through and destroyed a few of the trees out there, as well as some of y'all's farm equipment, didn't it?
Yeah, last year a tornado came through and just literally took the office away and knocked down a lot of the trees.
Right, and I treated some out there, and just lucky that the trouble wasn't up here and it didn't hurt this big old beautiful tree here. And your husband's gone now, but we'll come back here one of these days when the trees are out and maybe talk to him, and he can tell us a little bit about this tree too.
Okay, that's great.
I want to give you a tip about sanitation of your tools. You know, most of the time when you're cutting limbs or branches, you know, a lot of the times they're diseased. And you've got to remember to clean your tools periodically, especially between each cut. If you're working on a bacteria canker like fire blight on a Bradford pear, you'll spread it if you don't. Other times, if you're cutting a diseased branch, a recent study with an organization I'm affiliated with showed that some fungi still living in ground up mulch, chipped tree mulch, up to 2 years later. So that would tell you that these organisms will live on these saws and these tools for a good while if you don't use a little bit of cleanup ever so often and kill these. You don't want to spread it. You're doing quite a bit of harm if you do. Just a good idea to clean your tools and oil them up periodically anyway, but we've gotten away from that. You need to remember that. A simple solution of disinfectant, rubbing alcohol will work fine, or a solution of 25% bleach mixed with water, and it will clean your tools. And that way when you get ready to make another cut, you're not spreading a disease, and you got a clean tool. You'll be glad you did.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for Tree Doctors today. Thank you for joining us. For Ed Dickey, I'm John Passmore. We'll see you next time. Remember, if you have any questions, you can go to dickeytree.com or call the number below. See you next time on Tree Doctors.